Welcome to Daylight Studios here in Boulder, Colorado. Today it's a dreary day in Boulder. It's raining outside, so I'll try to keep my energy level up today. If I had my choice, I'd be laying down on the couch and I'd be listening to Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, the best album to listen to when it's raining outside. So my name is Mario Jannatpour, and I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Alliance in Louisville, Colorado. I'm going to be doing a training program today, and it's called Top 10 Mistakes That Realtors Make. And these are mistakes that you can make from a career standpoint or just in your everyday job. So I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this and be serious at the same time. So I've got Brian behind the camera helping me out today. I brought Wolfie from home today. My oldest daughter, Rhea, wanted me to bring Wolfie instead of Mr. Penguin. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. And I've got my book here. I'm the author of the book, The Honest Real Estate Agent. And I want to thank all of you that have been buying the book. Sales have been really well on Amazon, so I really appreciate all of your support. So I am the author of the book. So I want to talk about the top 10 mistakes. So I've got 10 bullet items that I'm going to go through, and these will be very helpful to a lot of you that are new real estate agents that are starting out, and really anybody who's been in the business a long time. I've been a realtor since 2002. I've been with RE/MAX Alliance since 2003. So the first mistake that I'm going to go through is a lot of us as realtors, we play hooky. So that's the first bullet point there, Izzy, play hooky. So what I want to talk about is that as real estate agents, it's really easy for us when we're busy, we've got a lot of things going on, we've got appointments, we've got meetings. It's really easy to stay engaged and to be going day to day. The challenge that we face as real estate agents is that when things kind of slow down, we don't have meetings, a lot of times we end up playing hooky. And what I mean by that is that, think about it, during the week when it's slow for us, sometimes as real estate agents, that's the best time to go out and do things. For example, in the summertime, maybe some of you are golfers, and rather than deal with all the crowds on the weekend, you can go play golf during the week on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And maybe you're out there playing and you're seeing a lot of other realtors playing at the same time, or you're playing with other colleagues in your office. One of the other things that, like for me, I go in the morning after I drop my daughters at school, I go to the gym and I get my exercise in about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it's really funny because when I'm there, there's about 3 or 4 other real estate agents that I know in the community that are at the gym at the same time. So that's a great time for us to do things when it's during the week and it kind of slows down a little bit. Maybe you can go shopping, good time to hit the mall, catch up on some of your fashion. So if you're not busy, you play hooky, you go shopping. For me, one of my little stories that I did when I was first starting out, I remember it was 2003. It was the summertime. Our first daughter had just been born. So I was really kind of busy with work and busy with, not sleeping, newborn, all that kind of stuff. And I think it was like about August. It was a bright, sunny day, pretty warm outside. So I said, hey, I'll just go to the movies. Rather than go to work, I'll go watch a movie. So I remember I went and saw Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, and this was before, they've kind of ruined it with all the sequels. But that movie was great to go watch in the theater on a hot summer day, see the blue waters of the Caribbean. It was great. And I got away from the office for like, 2 to 3 hours. Had my cell phone with me. I think I got like one call, and I just let it kind of roll to the voicemail. Here in Colorado, a lot of realtors during the week, they might go skiing in the wintertime. Great time to go up, hit Breckenridge, hit Vail, get away for a day or two. The key thing that I'm saying is that what we fall into sometimes when we're working and things kind of slow down, we don't have meetings, we maybe don't have anything pulling us to the office in terms of a definite meeting or an appointment, and sometimes we'll play hooky. So we have to kind of try to avoid that. Maybe every now and then it's okay to go and have some fun, get away, disengage, but you don't want to get in the trap of doing it all the time. And then that way it's going to prevent you from doing your work. The other trap that we fall into here is procrastination. So maybe rather than going and doing some work on your database or doing some phone calls, following up, working on some of your mailers, you say, hey, you know, I'm just going to go for a hike. I'm going to go up in the mountains, I'm going to relax, I'm going to take it easy, and I'm going to get away from work. Like I said, just don't get caught in the trap of doing that too much. What is always good to remember is, why are you working? What are your goals? What is important to you? And what is pulling you forward in terms of having your goals and working towards those goals? And just avoid procrastination at all costs. So that's number one. Number two, one of the other mistakes that I feel a lot of real estate agents make, and this kind of ties in with number one, is a lack of focus in managing your time. This is something that as a realtor, as a real estate agent, we have those peaks and valleys, and I've talked about it before, where we're really busy, we have a lot of closings, we're making money, we're doing really well. In those times when it's really busy and we have a lot of things going on, what we don't do sometimes, we then don't do the prospecting, we don't do the marketing, because we're so caught up in our day-to-day business. So I've got 4 areas that I think you need to always be allocating your time as a realtor in terms of trying to be looking to the future and being successful. The first one is easy. It's your customer, your client time. So the time that you're spending with your customers in terms of all the day-to-day activities, the showings, the listing meetings, working on contracts, doing your preparation and review for contracts, writing offers, going through all the process, negotiating inspections, and just all the meetings that you have with your clients. This is the traditional term that people talk about, the belly-to-belly sales time. And this is really easy for us to manage, because whenever we're busy, we're always focused on staying in front of our customers and following it all the way through, from the initial meeting all the way to the closing. So that's kind of one area where we spend a lot of our time. The second area that I think is important is your personal marketing activities. And this is your networking with your sphere, making your phone calls with your previous customers, making phone calls with your sphere, keeping in touch, working on your mailers, working on your just sold, your just listed postcards, the lunch meetings that you're having with your previous customers, lunch meetings that you're having with your sphere, people that you're trying to cultivate to try to get some business and get some contacts. The other thing is just in general, anything related to marketing to your sphere. So when we get busy with the day-to-day, the belly-to-belly sales time, this is one area that we let slip. We're like, oh, you know, I'm so busy, I've got so many things going on, you know, I've got 3 or 4 closings lined up for the next month, you know, I'm good. But what happens is that next month will come, you'll have those 3 to 4 closings, and then boom, you look at your pipeline, you look at the next month, you don't have any closings scheduled. So then you got to restart everything. You got to start from day one in terms of getting people into your pipeline and moving them forward. The third area that we need to focus on in terms of our time management allocation is our content marketing. And I've talked about this in other videos, I've talked about it in my book, but this is what we have to do now to be successful, is content creation. And this is where you're writing on a daily, weekly basis in your blog, you're doing your videos for your blog, for your website, content videos, I've talked about this before. You're doing your updates to your website in terms of different postings. You're doing some pictures in the area, Anything related to content creation, you have to keep doing that, because the website that you create, you want to keep your website dynamic and be adding information to it. So this is an area when you're looking at your time allocation, you have to do your content marketing creation. Very important. The last area that we need to be spending our time in is continuing education and market research. So the continuing education, as a real estate agent, we need to, like here in Colorado, we need to have 24 CE credits every 3 years. And every year we take like generally one class, which is our update class. That's mandatory. So that's 4 hours. So over the course of 3 years, I'll have 12 credits, but then I have to fill it out with the additional 12 credits. And I think it's important, especially when you're new, you want to be taking classes that are going to help your business, help your knowledge of the area. So contract classes are excellent, advanced contract classes, and try to find an instructor in your area that gives a good hands-on approach to continuing education. And then the market research. So you need to be an expert in the market that you're working in, be it your general market and or the niche that you're working in. So you continually need to be focused on learning about your market and what's going on. For me, a lot of that is done just based on my regular work. I do about 70 to 80% of my business is working with buyers. And I'm generally out showing a lot of houses. So in the area that I work, you know, Louisville, Boulder, and then the surrounding cities, Superior, Erie, you know, a lot of different areas, I'm out there showing houses. So on the course of a year, I don't know, I probably look at close to 400 houses a year with buyers. So that knowledge by taking my buyers out is invaluable. But if you're not as busy and you don't have a lot of buyers, you don't have a lot of listings, get out, preview the homes in your geography, in your market. And a quick point here about previews. Be respectful to the sellers of the property when you're doing a preview. Be respectful to the listing agent when you're doing a preview. If you're going to do a preview and you don't have a specific buyer in mind for that property, they're doing you a favor by letting you go in and see the property. Try to schedule it where it's convenient for that seller. You go in, you look at the house, you look at the condo, whatever it is, you take some notes, kind of see what you think buyers might like about it, what they might not like about it. And then if you want to give feedback to the seller, just give some general feedback. Don't harp, don't complain, don't nag about stuff. Just say, you know, the house, the property shows well, here's some things that I liked about it, you know, good luck with your listing. If there's something that you feel very strongly about that is an issue, you know, definitely let the listing agent know about it, but don't make a big deal. I mean, I know I have some agents that look at some of my listings, they go preview it, and they come back with this huge, you know, thing of all these interior decorating items, and, you know, you should do this, you should do that, I don't like these drapes, and I don't like the color of the carpet. You know, it is what it is at that point. So like I said, be respectful to the seller, to the listing agent, because you want to develop a good reputation when you're starting out as a realtor in your community. And by being respectful to the sellers, to the other agents, they'll remember that in the long run. So, like I said, the fourth segment here, stay informed, hone your skills. You have to understand that this is a business and you have to allocate your time properly into your job responsibilities. The biggest resource that we have as real estate agents is our time, and how we manage our time and focus our time is going to define our success going forward. So if we're only doing, like for example, if we're only writing blogs, if we're only doing videos, and we're only, you know, doing research, but we're not getting in front of clients, you're not going to close any business. You know, you get call reluctance, you don't want to get in front of anybody, so you definitely want to focus on these 4 areas, and this is going to be the foundation for your business as you kind of move forward. And another thing I talk about is when you want to have lunch, don't have lunch with other agents in your office, a lot of times. Maybe in the beginning, if you've got a mentor or somebody who's helping you, it's okay to go out to lunch a couple times. But as you've been in the business a while, I think I've had lunch with colleagues in my office, I think 2 times, in 10 years. And this is a colleague of mine, and she and I, we cover for each other. But we say, hey, let's do lunch. And we never end up doing lunch because we're both busy. And if I want to do lunch with somebody, I'll do lunch with a previous customer, somebody I know in my sphere. So just don't get caught in that trap. The third mistake that a lot of us fall into as realtors is we end up just being a generalist realtor. So this is number 3, being a generalist realtor. And what I mean by this is that we don't focus in on a geographic area, and we don't focus in on a market segment. And this goes back to what I always talk about focusing in on a market niche. You want to have an area of specialty as a real estate agent. And I can't stress this enough for those of you that are new and those of you that have been in the business a while, that you don't have a niche. You need to have an area of focus, because that helps you focus your marketing efforts in on this niche. But also, when people search on the internet, they will pick you up based on your focus in this area. I said this before, like doctors and lawyers. Doctors, there's not many rural family doctors out there anymore. Doctors are all specialized. Same thing with lawyers. I have some lawyer friends, and they're focused in on a specific discipline: immigration, corporate law. I know somebody, he works for an oil and gas company, and he goes out on site reviewing their safety issues and evaluating when accidents happen. So you have to be specialized. And then promote your knowledge through your content marketing. Now, this is one thing I want to kind of talk about, and this is just kind of a thing that has kind of been on my mind lately. I watch a lot of other, training. I watch a lot of other videos that are out there by people in the industry, a lot of these experts. And one of the things that a lot of these people promote is that the way you're going to get your customers is that it's going to just be on the belief that customers are going to do business with you because they like you and they trust you. Yes, that is a big part of what we do in terms of being in a sales type position. We get the trust, we get people to like us, but to only have that philosophy that that's what I'm going to base all my business on, by just getting people to like me and trust me. So that way I'm always networking and talking to people and having all these real estate conversations, every day. And then when people like me and trust me, they will do business with me. So I remember my first sales job. It was, I was a part-time sales guy. My family had a restaurant. I wanted to kind of get into sales, get out of the restaurant business. I didn't want to be, flipping eggs and slinging hash, all my life. Maybe it might have been a better decision to do that. It could have ended up in the Food Channel or something, but it was a decision I made then. But my first job in sales was, we were selling these memberships to a buying co-op, and we were all these young salespeople, guys and girls, and they taught us how to ID, to build an identification, to build rapport with the people that walked in. So we would practice and practice and practice on how to build this ID with people. So when somebody come in, you ask them just basic questions like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from New York. Oh, okay, I was in New York. I like the Yankees, I like the Giants, or who do you like? So anytime like a geographic, you ask people where they're from, you can build some kind of rapport. You can build rapport based on, family. Are you married? Do you have kids? Are you single? Where did you go to college? Oh, I went to Arkansas. Oh, you're a big Razorback fan. You know, I like Arkansas. You know, I know. And then you can start talking about people that went to Arkansas. My point is that they taught us how to do this, and we practiced it every time. You know, this was part of our sales meetings. So people would come in and they didn't know what hit them. They've got all these young, people, all attractive and stuff, showing them attention. Oh yeah, So the people that would come in, they're feeling good. Oh, what a great guy. What a great girl. They like me. I like them. I trust them. But when you talk about this in terms of building a foundation for your business, it's not going to last a long time. Maybe you hit it off with them. But what I'm trying to say is you don't want to build your business around this concept, because what ends up happening is that you get into this people-pleasing mode all the time. And you're always pleasing people, and it's a psychological thing. They don't like me, they don't trust me. And then you kind of get caught in this trap. And it really weighs on you over time, because you're always trying to get people to like you and trust you. And it's just not a good way, I feel, to build a good long-term business for yourself as a real estate agent. My belief is, going to this point here about being a generalist realtor, if you focus in on an area, you focus in on a niche, people will come to you based on your expertise, based on your knowledge, and then you get them to like you and trust you, and you've got both of them together. So people want to do business with you because they know that you can help them based on their area of need. What I always believe in, what I want most from my clients that I'm working with, I want respect. I don't necessarily want them to like me and trust me right from the beginning. I want respect. I want them to respect me as a professional, and then they can like me and trust me as a result of that. But I want them to respect me based on my qualifications, based on my skills, based on what I can do for them. So to me, respect is so important. And the other thing when you talk about the like and the trust factor, think back in your life when you've bought a service, you bought a product, you've bought something from somebody, and maybe you didn't like them or trust them as much, but maybe they had the skills and expertise needed to be able to get you what you wanted. When I first bought my house years ago, I was in high tech, and I was not in real estate then. And my realtor back then, she did a great job helping me find my house. I wanted to buy something in Boulder. I didn't end up finding what I wanted in Boulder because I was kind of picky and it wasn't fitting my price point. So we ended up looking in Louisville. But the real estate agent that I had at that time, she was not my best friend. She was not somebody that I liked in the sense that, I'd want to go out and have a beer with her. And frankly, a lot of times we argued about stuff, and I was saying I wanted this and I wanted that, and she would tell me. So it was somewhat contentious, but I always respected her. I respected her for what she was doing for me. I respected her for the hard work that she was putting in, and I respected her because I needed her. I needed her to be able to buy the house. I couldn't do it on my own. So she worked hard. And like I said, I respected her. So it wasn't like I liked her and trusted her and I was in love with her. She provided a service to me, and I respected that. What's most important to a consumer today, especially when you're buying a home, it's the biggest financial transaction that people are making in their lives. So I wrote this down here. What they want someone who has the expertise, the skills, the knowledge, and is willing to work hard for them. Likability is somewhat secondary. Listen to what your customers want rather than blabbering away as a salesperson trying to get them to like you. Listen to what they want and then focus in on that. If you operate under the belief that people are going to do business with you just because they like you, it's going to take a toll on you emotionally, and I've already talked about that. So don't get caught into that trap. Now, the second part about like and trust was the trust factor. You're going to get people's trust. I mean, that's easy. Once you work with them, you help them, you have that level of respect, you're going to earn their trust by just being a professional and doing what is right. So being able to help them. Be honest. I mean, be honest. Be transparent in everything that's going on. I talk about it in my book. That's a big part of what I talk about. Being honest. When you're honest with your clients, they're going to respect that. Okay, so kind of went off on a little rant there, but that's something that I feel very strongly about, and I like a lot of you to kind of take that advice when you're working with your customers. Okay, number 4 here is, one of the mistakes that we fall into is not being a professional. So a lot of you that get into real estate, maybe you're just really not that committed to being a professional. You're just kind of thinking about getting into the business and maybe kind of doing it part-time, and you're just going to kind of, you know, coast along. You'll do some deals for your family, you'll do some deals for yourself, but you're just not really committed to being a professional. To really be successful nowadays, you have to be a professional. You have to take pride in your work. You have to take pride in who you are. You have to take pride in working with other real estate agents. You know, do the work, prepare homework prior to meeting with your clients. So that way when you sit down with somebody and you're working with them, you're prepared, you're a professional. And this is, when you sit down, like if you're on the other side of the table and you're buying something, you're trying to get a service, and when you sit down with somebody who's not a professional and doesn't really care about what they do, you instantly, you know that. You can tell that they don't care, they don't take pride in their work, and you're just like, get me out of here. You know, you walk into a car dealership, you know, years ago when I bought a car, you know, I was out there walking, and, you know, somebody comes up, you know, if they just want to, you know, shoot the BS and they're just kind of, you know, glad-handing you, you know, like, hey, you know, I want to talk to somebody who's a professional, somebody who can just stick to the facts and help me get what I want. The better you serve your clients, the more professional you are, you're going to get a reputation. It's going to help you with your repeat business with your clients, and it's going to help you get referrals by being a professional. And the other point here is work for a professional company. And a lot of you that are new, I talked about this in my other training programs, you want to work for a professional company, because when you work for a professional company, that is going to reflect on you and who you are. So you don't want to work for a company that's just kind of fly by night and not really doing a good job. You want to be surrounded by other real estate agents that are professionals, and then that's going to reflect back on you. And I talked about it before, like my Kirby Vacuum, when I had my first job, you know, one of my first interviews, going out talking to Kirby Vacuum. I didn't want to be associated with a company like that because I didn't feel it was professional. One matrix that I think you need to think about as a new real estate agent, this is a classic 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. And this fits so well with real estate agents. 20% of the realtors in the business are generating 80% of the sales. And I think you could even skew it down, you know, to an amount of 10% of the real estate agents out there are generating 90% of the sales. They're also generating 90% of the commissions. So if you're in that bottom 80% and you're only generating the 20% of the sales, you're not going to make it. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to do well. So my advice to you when you're starting out, your goal is you want to get into that top 20%. And the top 20%, they are professionals. They are focused on this as a career. And even if you start out part-time, you could still work as a professional, and you could still be focused on getting better and honing your skills. So the other thing I talk about is be the tortoise, not the hare. So it's the classic children's story, you know, the rabbit, the hare, always trying to get ahead, always trying to take shortcuts, you know, not really thinking long term. For real estate agents, we have to be the tortoise. We have to be thinking long term. We have to be doing it one step at a time, one snowball at a time, building the snowball over time, building our business, and being a professional is going to be a big part of that. People ask me, what's the hardest part of my job? The hardest part of my job is dealing with other real estate agents, dealing with people that are not professionals, people that don't care about what they do, people that don't follow up, people that don't, follow up on voicemails, they don't respond to offers, they just don't do their job properly. So the hardest part of my job is dealing with other real estate agents. The other thing that I run into as a challenge is that I run into sometimes these other realtors that have been in the business, 30, 40 years, right? And I remember a few years ago, I had only been doing it for 5 years, and I wrote an offer, and the earnest money was $10,000 is what they were asking for a house priced around $400,000. And my rule of thumb is that the earnest money generally is like 1% of the purchase price. That's kind of like what we do here. So we wrote an offer and we wrote an earnest money check. My buyer wrote an earnest money check for $5,000. And it was a good offer. Didn't have to sell a property, they were renting. And I never forget this. I submitted the offer and this other agent just reamed me. I mean, this agent, she's like, I've been in the business 35 years. I've never seen an offer like this before. How can you not put the earnest money? We're asking for $10,000 and, blah, 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 blah. And she just tried to just totally intimidate me and make me feel bad. And this is what I call the old school realtor syndrome. And you're going to run into this because you're going to have these realtors out there where they think they know everything, they've been realtor of the year, whatever. And if you just don't do everything exactly the way they do it, they just will just lecture you on what you did wrong. The other thing that I run into with other real estate agents is these emotional hothead realtors. And I just tell one more story here. This was years ago. I was representing a buyer, submitted the inspection items, and it was like, 7, 8 items, but they were legitimate. There was an issue with the furnace, there was an issue with the hot water heater, issue with there was a water leak or something. They were all pretty legitimate. We sent along a copy of the inspection report. And I remember, talking to this guy on the phone, and this guy just went off on me. And he literally was like cussing me out, MF this, and all this stuff, and I can't believe you're doing this, and just going on. And I just had to hold the phone out like this and just let the guy rant and just get it out of his system. But that made it hard for me to be able to do the transaction because I'm dealing with somebody that gets so emotional and gets so upset. And the same thing with the other old school realtors. When they get so emotional and they start lecturing you, it's not focused on the transaction, what needs to be done. So remember that and don't take offense. These people, maybe it's part of their MO, part of their strategy. The other thing I'll talk about here is, this is some advice to you to be aware of, especially in some of these husband-wife teams. They'll do this good cop, bad cop routine on you. So, for example, I was representing the buyer, and I was dealing with the husband at the time, and he was as nice as you could be. Every time I asked for information related to the listing, he would get it back to me. Oh, Mario, yeah, love to do business with you, and tell me about your buyers. I mean, just the nicest guy. Just like, I wanted to, go buy him lunch, right? He was so nice. So we got under contract, and then, we're going to the inspection. And I kept calling for this guy, because we'd established a relationship. And he wasn't there. He wouldn't answer his calls. And then out of the blue, his wife calls me, rah, rah, rah. And she's like all over me, right? And I'm saying, well, we had some questions about the inspection, where they're not going to do anything, And she's just totally playing the bad cop routine. So I was kind of caught off guard. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Did I say, where's my other guy? Kind of thing. So I was a little bit unprepared for that. But we resolved it. We got through the inspection and everything was fine. But I want you to be aware that you're going to run into this, what I call a good cop, bad cop kind of, husband-wife team. Some of these teams out there, you're dealing with one person, they change hats, and then the other person's the bad cop when you're dealing with the inspection. So be a professional, take pride in your work. It's going to reflect on you very well with your clients, and you're going to establish a good reputation working with other realtors in your community. Okay, number 5 on my list here, losing touch with past clients. So one of the mistakes that we all fall into, and I'm guilty of a lot of these that I'm talking about today. Nobody is immune. So for me, one of the big mistakes that we fall into, especially as we progress in our career, is that we just lose touch with our past clients. So it's easy to keep in touch with a lot of our past customers that we have good relationships with. But what you need to do is you need to develop a system, develop a process for keeping in touch with your sphere, especially your past clients. The past clients, those are your most valuable resource, especially your first year, 2 years. I have customers who have referred me a lot of business over the years, and then you got the whole, Kevin Bacon kind of thing, right? So one refers and just keeps going down the line. So don't lose touch with your past customers. You need, like I said, a process. So you need to be able to do, regular phone calls, keeping in touch with your past customers, personal emails. I'm not a big fan of these mailing programs where you go, and I just looking at one, a couple weeks ago, and they have all these cheesy things like, oh, they'll send an email about something topical, something in the business, but it's really nothing related to real estate. And yeah, maybe it'll initiate a comment, it'll initiate some dialogue. It just doesn't fit my style. I'd rather do like a personal email talking to my customers about maybe what's going on in the market, something related to their property. A lot of times I'm out showing houses. I say, hey, I was just in your neighborhood. I looked at this house and it was a nice house, and it's going to sell maybe for this or whatever. But people are interested in that. So your past customers are going to say, yeah, I saw that house, and they'll tell you some story about the people that are selling it or whatever. And that's a great way to keep in touch with your past customers, just talking about what you're doing. So personal emails, don't do these email programs. Some of the other things that you can do to keep in touch with your past customers, customer parties. I've done that a few times over the years, like I do like a Dave & Buster party. And it's great because you can do a party where people can actually be doing something where they're engaged rather than just going and having a drink or whatever. And the Dave & Buster parties are great for kids because then the kids can go and play all the games, and my daughters, they just love it. It's like I call it Las Vegas for kids. They can get all their stuffed animals, all their toys, rack up all their little cards and stuff. So another activity that some other agents will do is wine tasting parties. And I think this is a great idea, and I like to try to do this in the future. And what they do is they do it for adults only. So they can maybe do another function for their customers for the kids, but then they do a function just for adults. And I know for me, having 2 young daughters, if somebody were to invite me to a wine tasting party, adults only, I'd be all over it, right? Because I don't get to talk to many other adults, during the day in a social setting. So I thought that was a really good idea. Other people will do picnics. They'll organize a picnic, and maybe everybody will bring a dish. Everybody will bring some, refreshments. I know some agents, they'll go ahead and rent a swimming pool. And I know there's a swimming pool in Broomfield where you can have a party after hours, like 6 o'clock in the summertime. It's still pretty hot, pretty warm. And they'll have the whole pool just to themselves. And they'll have all the, the kids and everything. And I think that's a great idea. So some form of customer party is a good idea to do on a regular basis. What some people will do is a lot of handwritten cards. They'll do the birthdays, they'll do, anniversary to, when they bought their house. And I do that a lot. I'll send out when I know somebody, their 1-year marker, 2-year marker of when they bought their house. But a handwritten card is nice. And don't get caught up in having to do a million handwritten cards, just a few things here and there. One of the things that I do a lot to keep in touch with my past customers in my sphere is I do a lot of my just sold and just listed postcards. I think this is a great way to keep in touch with people because it shows you being active and shows you being successful, especially the just sold postcards. I do a nice just sold postcard. I do a picture of the people, my customer in front of the house, a few other pictures of the house. I talk a little bit about, where they're coming from, what's their situation, talk a little bit about the house. I keep it really brief. Price of the house, logo with my company, all that kind of stuff. And then what I do also is that I use a program where it's all automated. So I have all my addresses in my Excel spreadsheet. I manage my Sphere address list, and then I'll just update this to, I use Express Copy. That's just one of the printers out there, and they do a great job. So I'll do my postcard, upload my address list, and then let them do the postage. And then it looks very professional. When I started out years ago, I was doing a lot of the stamping and putting the labels, and I'd be late at night doing it. I even recruited my mother-in-law. She was there after our children were born, and a couple times she's helping me. And it's a lot of work. And then what happens is you're doing these labels on the postcards. They get all smudged, and the stamps are crooked. They don't fit well, and it just kind of looks hokey. So what I do is I just use Express Copy, make it clean, simple, don't touch it, and it's not that expensive. But I get a lot of feedback from my Sphere, from my past customers about my just sold postcards. I'll see them at the gym, I'll see them in the grocery store, see them somewhere. Hey, Mario, yeah, you're doing really well this year. I just saw you're just sold, you did this thing, and wow, you sold that house there for, over $600,000, great job. Or you sold that house in my neighborhood, tell me about it. So every time when I see my past customers around town, or we're emailing, Facebook, whatever, they're always making comments about that. So people do notice. The other thing that I've noticed from your past clients, they want to see you continue to do well. They've bought or sold their house through you. They want to see you succeed. So when you send the just sold postcards, hey, Mario, he sold another one. People, they do that. They'll cheer you on. So I think that's really great. So and then if you're new, ask some of the other agents in your office, look online. You can get a lot of good ideas. Big thing here is develop a system, develop a process to keep in touch with your Sphere. There's programs out there that will sell you a system, items of value, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a big proponent of that because I just don't feel that I need to spend money to do that. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're approached by some of these companies. Consistency is key. Make sure you're keeping in touch with your Sphere on a consistent basis. Number 6, one of the mistakes that a lot of realtors make, new and experienced, is you're marketing like it's still 1995. And what I mean here is that a lot of realtors are marketing like it's still, the internet doesn't exist. So you're still doing a lot of the old marketing technologies, marketing methods. You're still advertising a lot in the newspaper. You're still sending out all the hard copy newsletters. You're still, leaving cookies at the door. You're still going out and putting packages at the door. A lot of this stuff is expensive. When I started out, I got caught into the trap of doing one of these boilerplate newsletters and mailing it out to people. It's expensive. It's expensive to buy it. It's expensive to produce it. It's expensive to mail it. And you just don't get a good return on your investment. Nowadays, people get stuff in the mail at home. Boom, it just goes directly into the recycle bin. They're just not paying attention to it. If it's something big and elaborate like a letter, a newsletter, it doesn't work anymore. See, my just sold postcard, it's easy because it's just, front and back. They look at the picture, they look here, they make note of it, they can see it. They don't have to go through and read it. And a lot of times these boilerplate newsletters, it's just filled with a lot of cheesy content that is not really specific to your market. So that's something to kind of watch out for. So don't get caught up in trying to do all these old marketing strategies. And when you're new and you go into an office, you'll ask them, what do you do? So maybe a realtor that's been in the business for 20 years, what they do, it's not going to work for you. That's where I think there's a big disconnect in our industry. A lot of new realtors are getting advice from realtors, agents who've been in the business 20, 30 years, and the marketing that they're doing is working for them. Maybe they're baking the cookies, maybe they're doing the newsletters, because it works, because they've got a big farm, they've got a big sphere, they've got 500 people that they're mailing information out to, they've got the budget. But when you're new, you don't have that sphere that's as big as theirs, you don't have that past customers, and you don't have the budget either. When I was doing that newsletter, like I talked about, I was sending it out to a lot of people. You know the responses I was getting? The responses I was getting was, can you please take me off your list? I remember people would email me, yeah, I got this newsletter, you know, I don't want to be on your mailing list anymore. I'm like, okay, thanks, you know, I'll take it off. And meanwhile, I'm spending all this money. What you have to focus on now, it's not 1995, right? It's the 21st century. You got to adapt. You got to embrace social media. You've got to be on, you know, Facebook. You got to be on Twitter, Google+. You got to be doing the YouTube videos. You got to be on all these different programs that are out there. That's the best way for you to stay in touch with people. Blogs, your WordPress blogs, all these things I've talked about. Content marketing is key. You develop your content, you put it out there on social media, and you know what? It's free. It's all free. You don't have to pay to be on Facebook. You don't have to pay to be on Twitter. You don't have to pay to do a YouTube video. YouTube videos have been awesome for me. I mean, it's a great way for people to connect with me via my content marketing that I'm doing based on relocation, based on the area that I'm focusing in on. So I really love YouTube, and it's all free. I've got a webcam. I bought it Best Buy, 50 bucks. My laptop here has a webcam built in. If I wanted to do it there, I could do it there. You upload it, boom, it's free. All of that is free. You have to take advantage of it. It's like the old, the movie, the Field of Dreams. You know, if you build it, he will come. So the same thing with content. When you build it, people will come to you based on the search, and it has to be valuable. So here's my top 5 tips for social media. So I'm not a social media expert. I don't profess to be, but I do a lot on social media, and I kind of follow it with what other people are doing. So my best advice to you when you're doing social media, content marketing, here's my top 5 tips. Number 1, be authentic, be genuine, be yourself, okay? You don't want to be creating content that's not authentic, that's not reflecting on you. Some people will go and they'll pay somebody to write blog posts. And I think that's the worst thing that you can do, because you're not creating your brand, you're not creating your identity. So be authentic, be genuine. Number 2, care about what you do. What is your motivation? Your motivation is to help your clients get what they want and need. This has always been my foundation as a salesperson, going back to the 1-Minute Salesperson book by Larry Wilson and Spencer Johnson. If you haven't read that book, get it from the library, 1980s book, but hey, it still holds up. Your focus is to help other people get what they want and need. So when you care about what you do and you have that philosophy, it will come through in your messaging. You'll feel, your feelings will transmit based on what you're trying to do in helping your customers. Number 3, create valuable content that your prospects, your clients, they want to read or listen. Make sure it's valuable to them. Number 4, years ago, Bill Gates said, content is king. What I say today, especially for real estate agents, video is king. And I'm not talking about just doing these listing videos and you roll a bunch of pictures about the listing. I'm talking about personalized videos of you, talking to your prospective customers, talking to your past clients about your area of focus, about your area of geography. So content, the video content is really king because you can take those videos, it's up on YouTube, post it on your website. So video is really important in social media. Lastly, one of my big tips about social media, don't sell, don't push when you're on social media. I hate it when I see all these realtors are putting all these posts and videos and blogs out there. It's a great time to buy. It's never been, better. Interest rates are so low. Call me. Yeah, that might work, but if you're always doing that type of promoting, selling, pushing, me, that does not come across well in the long term, and then people are just going to tune it out. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm on to number 7 right now. One of the mistakes that we fall into is having a dead website in the sense that we are not updating it on a regular basis. So if you have a website that's personalized, I really feel you need to have a personalized website, have pictures of yourself, pictures of your family if you have a family, make it personal, and then talk about yourself. Make sure you have an about section about, where you went to school, where you went to college, how long you've lived in the area, whatever you want it to be, but have some kind of bio on your website. And you want to be updating it on a regular basis. So this is what I talk about, having a blog and then taking that blog, like a WordPress blog, turning it into your website, and then continually updating it with quality content, quality posts, quality videos, testimonials. So if you just have a standard boilerplate website and it's there and you don't touch it, Google is not going to like that. So you want a website that you're continually updating, and then when you're updating it, Google likes that because Google likes websites that are updated on a regular basis and are adding content. So you want to keep updating it and keep adding to it. Like for example, my website moved to Calo.com. That's the website I use as a real estate agent. I'm updating it with videos, with pictures, and it comes up well in the rankings. So if you look at Louisville, Colorado relocation, I come up pretty high based on the content that I'm doing. One quick point here about websites. Don't get caught in the trap that you have to have an IDX for your website, the Internet Data Exchange. You have a simple website as a realtor, as an individual real estate agent. You don't want to spend $5,000, $10,000 on your website to have an internet data exchange. And what that is that you have a link within your website to allow people to search the listings in your area through this internet data exchange. What I say is, why do you want to compete with Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, all these huge websites where that's all they do? Nowadays, listings are a commodity on the internet. So if you're trying to compete with them with your little itty bitty website, joesmith.com, it's just not going to work unless you maybe have some kind of area of focus or you kind of have some kind of niche application built into it. Consumers nowadays, they're hitting all these major websites, but you know what they're doing after that? Then they're searching for realtors based on their area of need for their geographic area or market segment. So what I'm finding now is that customers are coming to me based on my relocation niche. Mario, I just saw your video talking about relocation tips. I just saw your video talking about, the area. I love your passion for real estate. I love what you say. The other part about WordPress that I mentioned, mobile. Mobile is big now. So when people are searching online, they're using their smartphone, they're using their tablet computer. So you want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And this is a nice thing about a WordPress blog. Another pet peeve of mine, I'll just talk about it real quick here, especially on your websites. Remove please from all of your marketing copy on your website. My feeling is never say please, but always say thank you. Don't beg for business. Please email me if you're interested. Please email me if you want more information. You know, it just doesn't come across professional. So what I say is take please out from all of your marketing copy. Number 8, in terms of a mistake that a lot of realtors run into, is being a drama queen or king. And realtors are notorious for this. So you ask somebody in your office, hey, how's it going? How's that deal going? And they're like always complaining. Oh, you'll hear that sound. Oh, So when somebody starts doing that, just run away. But a trap that we all fall into is that we just get really over dramatic about what we're doing and all the things that we're doing with our business. So my feeling here is remove emotion as best you can from your day-to-day business. So don't be a drama king, don't be a drama queen, just take the emotions out. Okay, number 9, wishful thinking with customers. This is a trap that a lot of salespeople fall into, wishful thinking. And what happens is you end up sticking too long with clients that are just not going to do anything. And a lot of times as a realtor, we have to fire our customers, because if they're not going to do anything and we're just spinning our wheels, we're having that wishful thinking, we're living in the world of hope rather than reality. I was in sales management working at Rogue Wave Software before I got into real estate. And I remember when I first started managing my sales team, about 10 to 12 reps, we were going through the pipeline, going through their forecast. And every time we were going through it, and I was talking to the reps, the word hope kept coming up. They would say, yeah, I really hope the purchasing agent's going to get it to me. I really hope this deal is going to come through. Hope, 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 hope. And every time I heard the reps say the word hope, I knew the deal was not going to happen, because they were not dealing in reality. They were just hoping for the business. And we fall into that trap a lot as realtors. Now, there's a fine line here for a lot of you that are new. You want to get out, you want to be working with people. Activity is good, but try to qualify your customers. A colleague of mine, Susan Plage, here in Boulder, she said pre-qualify the customer, not for lending, but for a successful transaction. And I think that's good advice. I had a situation come up just last year where I was working with a customer, and I'd helped these customers years ago buy their house. And I remember back then it was very challenging. We looked at like 80 properties and it was a lot of work, and we went through multiple deals, things fell through. But last summer, I was helping them, and we got to a point where they said if the price got to this point, they would buy the house. Well, we got to that point and they didn't buy the house. And I was disappointed, and I kind of felt bad. So then the fall came, and then they got back to me, and then out of the blue, this customer said, well, you know what? Since I'm finding all these houses online, what I want to do is I want to take 2% of your 3% commission, because I'm doing all the work. I'm like, okay, where is this coming from? So what I ended up having to do in that situation, I just said, I don't work that way. I don't do rebates. It's just not in my business model. My office doesn't really approve of that, and I just don't do that. And I use this as an excellent opportunity to kind of get out of this situation with this customer, because they were really wasting my time. And I've kind of monitored it, and they haven't done anything since then. And I didn't feel I had to give up any of my commission to do that. The best way to qualify customers is to ask them to do something, what I call pushback selling. And this is probably another video training program I'll do in the future. Ask your customers to do something, give them an assignment, and then if they do it, then you know that they're serious. So for example, if you're talking to a buyer, ask them to get pre-qualified. If they don't get pre-qualified, or if they don't do what you ask them to do, maybe they're just not as motivated to do it. So watch out for the wishful thinking when you're dealing with your customers. Number 10, here the last point with this list is a lot of us, we fall into the trap of doing the same thing year after year. We just kind of get into this routine where we're doing the same thing over and over. You know, we're not learning, we're not getting better. So what I say is be creative, think big, think about your business. The people that are successful are the ones that think about what they do, they hone their skills, and they get better. How can you be different? How can you set yourself apart from the masses, from all the other real estate agents? Be special. Take time out during the week to think, so you just don't get caught into the trap of doing the same thing year after year. So that's the end of my list of my top 10 reasons. My last point that I'll do here, don't give up. And I always talk about this, but I just want you to know, don't give up. Stay at it. Last year I had a situation where I had 2 listings and they didn't sell. And you know, I stuck with my clients, and now this summer they're both selling, and they're selling for more than what they had wanted to get last year in good situations. You know, I stuck with it. I had a client last year where I met the dad, and the dad of the client came and said, you know, I want to kind of help out. And I said, sure, you know, be a part of it. I know some realtors, they get really nervous when the parents get involved, like, oh, why do I have to deal with that? I'm like, okay, no big deal. You know, I listened to him, I catered to him, I made him feel special. This summer he contacted me and said, hey, you know, I want to buy a house. He's moving here from another area. So we went one day, we looked at 4 houses, and then it turns out we looked at 2 houses that were side by side, and now he's buying both of those houses. So I'm like, great, you know. So that's because I stuck with it and I'm not giving up. And that's been a really good situation for me. So thanks so much for watching this training program. I really appreciate all the support I'm getting from my book, and I'll see you next time.